Hey, hello friends, welcome to my channel. In this Python commonly asked coding interview question series, we have been discussing about various interesting problems. In that series, let's discuss about now how to print how to print stars in pyramid format. So you can call it as stars or asterisks. How do you print asterisks in pyramid format? So this is one of the very frequently asked interview questions for ages. Like for a very long time, this is one of the popular question. So let's jump into the solution on how we can solve this using Python, right? So in order to explain this concept better, I have drawn the same pyramid in an Excel so that I can walk through each and every rows and columns, and I can explain you better. So if you look at this particular example, we have like five different rows, like five rows. So based on the user input, it can print the number of rows. So in case if the user has provided input as 4, you can have 4 rows. That is first 4 rows. If the input is 5, it can print 5 different rows. So here in this particular problem, my n is 5. Okay. So now let's look into the logic on how we can solve this problem. So first logic we need to look into is, okay, so probably first we need to handle the number of rows, right? So first point is we will have a for loop to handle number of rows. Okay, so this is the first step I would do. Second step is so if you look at this, I have to print a star, but before printing star, I have to leave like sim x number of spaces, right? In this example, I have to leave 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, four different spaces, four spaces before I am printing a star. So obviously we have to handle the spaces as well. So I will have another inner for loop to have inner for loop to handle spaces. So this is another next step I would take care of. And finally what I would do is I need to handle the number of columns as well, right? So I will have another inner loop, um, inner for loop to handle columns. Okay, so this is to handle the number of columns. So this is going to be the key strategy for me. So keeping this this logic in mind, let's jump into our coding. Okay, I'm going to my PyCharm. So as usual, let's define a function, like I would call it as pyramid pattern, no, and n will be my parameter. So as a user, I can provide the input I want. So finally, n, let's say n equal to 5, and pyramid pattern is n, right? So this will be my function. So now let's jump on to the actual solution. So as I said, first we need to handle the number of rows, right? So we need to have a for loop for I in range. So for loop will be up to n, right? So 0 comma n. So in if it is 5, so it will be 0 comma 5. So this is how you handle a for loop. Once we use this for loop to handle my number of rows, next I need to have another inner for loop to handle the number of spaces, right? So if I go back to this problem, to this pictorial representation, so if you see in the first row, I need to print four different spaces, right? One, two, sorry, wow, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. So in my first row there is 4 spaces. In my second row that is 3. Next it is 2 and 1. So you can see that the number of spaces is gradually decreasing. So how do I handle this in code is, obviously so there will be an I value which will be passing, right? So we'll so here 5 is the n value. So you not so if you so here we have 4 spaces. So 5 minus 1 will give you 4. 5 minus 3 will give you 5 minus 2 will give you 3. So the value is nothing but it's the I incremental value. So let me write it so we'll have a clear understanding. So for j in range, 0 comma n minus I minus 1. Okay, so now if you substitute this here, what will happen is, now n minus I minus 1 will be, so here n minus, in my first row, n minus, so n minus, first in my I minus 1. So here the answer will be n, so n is 5 minus my I value is 0 minus 1, which is 4, right? So now it will print me 4 different spaces. When I come to the next iteration, it will be n minus I minus 1 equal to 5 minus 1 minus 1, right? So obviously 5 minus 2 is 3. Okay, sorry, there's some date formatting, but it is 5 minus 2. Here it will be 5 minus 3. Okay, so here you will have 2 spaces. So similarly you can follow the same approach in this next for loop as well. So now let me jump on to my, so this will handle the number of spaces. So once I handle the number of spaces, obviously I have to print the spaces, right? So I am giving a print statement called end equal to, I have to print space, right? End with space. Okay, so and then as I said, next we have to handle the number of columns, right? So I'm going to write another logic to handle number of columns for j in range 0 comma I plus 1. Now let me come to this part. So here we have 0 comma I plus 1. So here in this situation, if I say 0 comma I plus 1, so the value will be, in my first iteration, the value will be, in my first iteration value will be 0 comma, first value 0 plus 1, right? 0 plus 1, so it will be 0 comma 1. Here in the next iteration it will be 0 comma 2. Next iteration it will be 0 comma 3. Okay, this is how you can handle the number of columns as well. So once you come to the perspective columns, again what you will do is print, I have to print obviously the star, right? So I have to print star, and yeah, so there's a function called end which you can use with print statement generally in Python. So if you want to end anything with any print statement with some value, then you can use that end operation. So here I'm going to use space, and finally I have to switch to my, I have to print subsequent rows, right? So I'm doing print r slash r. Okay, so now I have printed it. Let me run this. Yeah, now I got the asterix printed in pyramid format, right? So this is how you can print asterisks or stars in pyramid format. Just a quick recap. So this is where you handle number of rows, outer for loop to handle number of rows. This is to handle the number of spaces, and this is to handle the number of columns and print your actual asterisks. Okay, so I hope now you understand the logic behind how to print pyramid and how to print stars in pyramid format. In case if you have any queries, please post it into the comment section. If you like my video, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.